It's interesting.
So this has been making its rounds. Are airlines' DEI policies affecting safety? So the New York Post, the bastion of truth, has an opinion piece that says, despite Trump's efforts, airline DEI programs are still risking people's lives. 3 million Americans will board a plane today, assuming the pilot earned that seat through merit. Would they not board otherwise?
I think that most people probably would.
Oh, the people boarding are assuming. They're not.
Right.
It's not assuming. Okay. English is hard. They shouldn't. For decades, airlines have subordinated safety to diversity quotas. President Trump rightly recognized this danger. Early on, he ordered the FAA and Department of Transportation to rescind all DEI initiatives and return to merit-based hiring and promotions, but the FAA can and must do more. Federal law makes it illegal to run an airline without an air carrier operating certificate. These certificates must contain terms necessary to ensure safety and can be revoked if the public interest requires it, so the government has leverage and the stakes are sky high. I analyzed every U.S. commercial flight crash attributed to pilot error since 2000. That's 26 years for those counting at home. Women and minorities represented less than 10% of pilots, yet were factors in 4 out of 6 crashes, 66%. The sample size is small, but precisely because crashes are so rare, the few times they occur, it's important to scrutinize who is at the controls. Under DEI's guiding principle of relying on statistical disparities is certainly enough to raise questions. It's not that women and minorities are inherently unable to fly planes, but in practice, pressure for affirmative action too often leads airlines to lower their standards to meet quotas. Today, major carriers persist in aggressive diversity hiring. Delta, whatever a CLO is, declared in January of 2025 that the airline is steadfast in its DEI commitments, calling them critical to our business. United's Training Academy maintains its goal of ensuring 50% of graduates are women or minorities. Southwest pledges to recruit, hire, and retain a diverse and inclusive workforce. American agreed not to impose illegal quotas. I won't do it. I promise. I will never die. Scout's honor.
All right, here, dude.
The need for action is urgent. The FAA should condition operating certificates on merit-only hiring and verify compliance. Carriers that resist will find litigation works against them. Discovery will expose how extensively DEI has lowered standards. Exhibit A, 2019 Atlas. NTSB determined the cause to be the inappropriate response by the first officer, Conrad Aska, a black pilot at the controls. Czech airman, an experienced pilot oversees quality and safety, describes his piloting performance as among the worst he'd ever seen. When faced with an unexpected situation, Aska would get extremely flustered and could not respond appropriately. He panicked after accidentally initiating a go-around and flew the plane to the ground. Atlas remains unrepentant. Website declares, equity and inclusion are deeply woven into our operations. Most diversity disasters leave far from complete paper trails. Training failures happen behind closed doors. Near misses can go unreported. Crashes can be blamed on mechanical failure, understaffing, or other politically acceptable causes. And then they talk about the standard Lieutenant Kara Hultgreen, the first female F-14 pilot. She crashed and died. They declared it general neutral, but there was a whistleblower. And then 2022, United 777 departing Maui plunged toward the Pacific, pulling up just 750 feet from the water. The NTSB plane pilot error. The pilot's name never released. February 2025, a Delta Connection plane flipped upside down at Toronto runway with a female first officer at the controls. They claimed her experience exceeded requirements. Truth, she had 1422 hours below the 1500 standard, but permissible. Colgan Air, male captain stalled the aircraft, but the female first officer who'd never flown in icy conditions made it worse. She inappropriately retracted flaps. In 2025, a female helicopter pilot ignored repeated air traffic control instructions and collided with American Airlines jet, killing 67. Crashes remain rare because of technology. Do I have to keep reading this?
It's just stats, man. Of all the
airlines have a moral duty to put passenger safety first, as they lack the courage of the administration. Daniel Huff is a former White House lawyer.
Oh,
well.
Oh boy.
Put the banner up, because here we go.
We don't have any room in the budget for fighting any kind of legal. Oh, yeah.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts, Gonky. This article is so stupid. Go ahead, please.
No, what do you? I'm curious.
No, don't put pilot. You know, give a shit. Everyone.
What do you think?
I ask you first. You want to know what I think? Fine. We're going to talk about it because this is stupid, Gonky. All All right, statistics lie. First off, like, right, we know this. You can make stats do whatever you want. There are two competing things here. One is, I think we agree, you and I, Gonky, probably not people, that a person should be in the seat that is most qualified for the job. That's a pretty universal thing. Like the most qualified, most competent person should be the one taking Meemaw to, see the grandkids on the red eye or whatever she's doing, but she shouldn't be out that late. Let's be honest. But in the past, there's been the pendulum, right? We've quotas we don't like. We don't like where you go out of your way to exclude qualified applicants just so you can meet a quota. However, there's nothing wrong with giving qualified people who otherwise might not get that opportunity a chance by making it more accessible, by encouraging them to join, by encouraging their ability to get the job. Not at the downfall of others, but for the benefit of aviation, because in general, diversity is better because you get different schools of thought. People think differently, people do stuff differently, et cetera. It's just, in general. This thing with the stats. Okay. Going backwards, he talks about the Black Hawk crash, blames the woman. We've covered that extensively. That's nonsense. There is no evidence that the captain, Rebecca Lobach, was ignoring any commands and had any more or less SA than the instructor that could have and should have taken the helicopter if such a dangerous situation existed, and did not, because probably, more than likely, he equally had no situational awareness because it was a mishap, and bad things happen in mishaps. The Colgan Air thing, stupid. He literally leads off with the captain stalled the airplane. You can full stop here. No captain should stall a commercial air transport category aircraft. Like, we just don't do that. Sorry. Yes, it led to a whole bunch of stuff that is also nonsense and a lot of regs that, whatever, because we have to do something. Also nonsense. The Atlas Air was a pilot with a bad training records. Absolutely. The color of his skin is irrelevant. It is about training departments pushing people through and training departments not upholding standards. The standards exist for a reason. And a lot of places, look at United. They had a time when they had all these mishaps because that 777 thing, for example, they had a rash of mishaps, and the F-Feds came in and they said, guess what? You're not self-certifying anymore. You're going to have a Fed watching your simulator and making sure that you do it right. It's a training department issue. It is not DEI. It is not based on quotas or anything like that. It is about holding people to standards. And my time in the airlines, I saw people held to standards because that's the way it is. Now, let's be honest. Is this the hardest job in the world? No, because you get so much training by the time you get to it. It's by design. If you study and put an effort in, you should get through it. It's not rocket science. However, some people can't. And that's a training department issue. That is not a diversity or we hired somebody that we shouldn't have. Now, where I think DEI is a problem is at the corporate level. I think you still see that at the corporate level in who management picks from the union, how they go about, going to certain events for hiring. I do see issues with that. But does that mean airline is not safe because of this? No, it just means it's some BS policies that maybe they should throttle back, and, it's a sign of the times. But airlines are still safe regardless of what his admitted, oh, I don't have a lot of data because there hadn't been a lot of crashes. Well, no shit, Sherlock, because it's safe. Your whole premise is stupid. Gonky, your thoughts?
Yeah, we mostly agree, dude. So yeah, the article, it is missing some stuff, but like, only because, dude, listen, the DEI thing, I have just experienced it myself. I've seen it myself. It actually does exist. Way more so I saw it in the military. I agree with you in the civilian world, and maybe it's because like at the companies we work at, like generally speaking, the weak are weeded out earlier in their careers, and I haven't really seen much of it. Where I'm at now, like you said, they hold the standard. If you don't meet the standard, you get retrained, which is good because that's what you want when you're hauling people around because they're entrusting you with safe operation airplane. But the one thing that I have a hard time with that article, and I've read it in other articles as well, is like United, wants 50% of their new pilots to be, diverse, whatever the hell that means. I'm a minority, right? I think automatically that's discrimination in and of itself. How can you make an arbitrary statement like that? What ends all this is you just get the applicants, you have the requirements for the job, you hire the best applicants, they pass the training. You don't even look at their gender, their skin color, whatever, man. It's you, like you said at the beginning, you want the best people in the seat, given your applicants for the job, right? I mean, it's very simple, man. Just set a standard and hold it. In the military, I saw a lot of stuff that was very disheartening. I saw guys who should have got jet slots not get jet slots. I saw airplanes that were crashed, and if it was me, I wouldn't be here right now, with the experience that I have. Like DEI is a real thing, and it is just from my own personal experience. I don't think it has been particularly good per se, because like I said, there's a lot of good applicants out there that are on the other side of it, that in my opinion kind of get screwed out of opportunities. That being said, man, as a Hornet instructor, I trained a lot of female pilots, Wizzos, all different colors. I never failed a student, man. They all met the standard. I treated them like, hey, if I go out in the fleet as your flight lead, I need you to be a good wingman. And all of them, did great. They met the standard and were fine. When I was a civilian flight instructor, the most talented, the most naturally gifted student I ever had was a girl. She went on to fly C-17s, and I think her dad flew for Delta, but she was, when it came to landing, the little Cessna 152, I literally I was like, that's the runway land, and like she landed better than me, like she just a natural pilot. So I also don't believe that, you have to be a man to be a great pilot. I don't think that's true either. So like you said, though, man, I think you hit the nail on the head. The pendulum swings one way, then it goes the other way. We just need to be careful, right? Because at the end of the day, whether you're dealing with the military, you want the most lethal military possible. So you want the best people operating whatever machines that they're operating or doing whatever job they're doing. And on the civilian side, you want the best people flying your airplanes. If we're talking about air travel, that's what the customer wants. That's what us as a society would demand. I don't want my wife and kids flying in an airplane that's just, full of DEI hires, whatever that means. I want them in an airplane that is full of qualified crew members. And I truly believe that's what we have today at least with the, flying the big airplanes. So I think an article like this is probably out there to stir the pot a little bit. But I agree with you as far as a lot of those instances that he's citing. It's a little lopsided just to prove his point. But that's my take on it, man. What do I know?
It's not even lopsided. He doesn't prove a point at all. It's like, that's the thing. It's like he comes up with this big airlines aren't safe, and then the examples he uses, like it's a logical fallacy. Like you're associating things that aren't necessarily.
He's drawing conclusions,
right? Without the data. Like you can't take the last 4 mishaps in the last 20 years. Well, what about the 200 mishaps 20 years before that? How many white males?
All of them, because they didn't have, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like the data lies. Look, dude, I don't think that DEI hiring practices are necessarily good, right? I think that the idea that we should hire based on the color of your skin or, your gender or your sexual orientation is just as bad as discriminating against it. Yep. I think everyone should get a fair shake. Where I think it is useful is, hey, let's do initiatives to encourage people that may not have the opportunity or may not think they have the opportunity to get into flying. I think that can be useful, not at the downfall of somebody else, but as a, hey, you guys can do it too. Send me your best. Send me your champions. We want the best of all walks of life from everywhere.
Yep.
I think that's valid. But once you're in the seat, the system is designed to police itself. And if it doesn't, that's when, the FAA rolls in. That's when whatever, we as pilots police ourselves. The reason air travel is as safe as it is not because of any one person or any one group of people. It is about the the training departments that do the work, that make sure we're standardized and all that stuff. And they're crew aircraft. We back each other up as it is. But when you get to stuff like this, and you're taking a dump all over dead people, that's what this is. This is people that cannot defend themselves, people that cannot, the truth doesn't matter. It's all about the headline and all that stuff. And I think that's a foul. Where it actually a problem is at the corporate level. And that I will 100% agree with you, is that it has infected the corporate nonsense. Like, I believe every airline could probably cut 40% of people that are just absolutely worthless, because they have been hired based off some nonsense. They come up with these, oh, you need to do this training and this and stuff like that. And we got to do it every year because you didn't remember it from last year. And, that's the stuff that you can cut. But to say that airlines aren't safe, no, that's
I don't agree that. I agree with you, dude. The airlines they're safe, man. I don't agree with the article as in jeopardy. That's nonsense, dude.
Yeah.
No.